This is a CBSN Pittsburgh special presentation.
Hi, I'm Jon Delano, Money and Politics Editor, KDKA Television, CBS Pittsburgh. And our very special guest is Raphael Tulino, who is the spokesperson or a spokesperson for the U.S. Internal Revenue Service. Thank you, Raphael. Always good to be with you. Appreciate your help.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
So let me ask you, Monday, January 24, a big day for taxpayers in the IRS, yes?
So Monday is the first day the IRS will start processing tax year 2021 tax returns. The deadline this year is April 18th, not the 15th, so a couple more extra days because of a weekend and a holiday, and that moves over to the 18th of April. But the bottom line is a couple of things this year just to keep in mind. One, do what you can absolutely to e-file and choose direct deposit. Paper is not necessarily the IRS's friend. It hasn't been during the pandemic in terms of moving paper around, getting letters opened in that. It's been a bit of a struggle, if you will, to keep up with that and catch up with the backlog of paper. So do what you can to file a paperless return, choose direct deposit. The other thing is be sure to file an accurate return the first time. Millions and millions of people will be reconciling the third economic impact payment on their tax return, aka stimulus, on the recovery rebate credit line, and also advanced child tax credits, which were given to tens of millions of people throughout the country this year in terms of getting half of that credit in monthly payments from July to December, and then getting the other half when you file here on your return. The thing about that is both of those things, there are changes that people have in 2021 and perhaps even 2020 that will have them even qualifying for more or partial payments they did not receive. So that reconciliation process, really you want that to be accurate, especially those two things, along with everything else, to avoid delays, which can slow down the processing and thus your refund.
It sounds like overall, Raphael, it's going to take a little more time to complete your tax return this year. Yes?
It may or may not. That depends on the complexity and the situation for the taxpayer. Software really does a great job of holding your hand all the way through, whether you do it yourself or with a tax professional, as many use, tax pros. But certainly there's a little bit more to navigate this year, no question about it, because of the legislation and the pandemic and what we've had to administer in the last couple of years.
We're going to probe into that a little bit in just a second, but in terms of refunds, do we have any estimated times? Well, first of all, I think most Americans will get a refund. Is that not true?
Yeah, the normal in the years previous and many years previous, it's about 3 of 4, maybe 7 of 10. So right in that range of all taxpayers have refund returns. And so, many are over withheld. They paid too much throughout the whole year and get a refund back. The normal timing, we're still trying to stick by this, 21 days or less for most, assuming a paperless tax return. Now, that's not to say if there's an error, it might slow it down. So I'm going to go back and say, please try to get that done correctly the first time to avoid that. But generally speaking, for a paperless return, we're aiming for 3 weeks or less for most people, and we hope to stick to that.
I've actually heard, though, that you're still processing 2020 returns. Are those people who filed written material as opposed to using online?
Probably, getting through paper has been a challenge, and yes, we're still trying to finish off the last few, if you will, in terms of, and I don't know the exact number, but it's a big number, but compared to the whole number, it's small. But anyway, the bottom line is we're still trying to get through those 2020 returns. But if you're in the position where you haven't had that process, you haven't gotten your refund, please understand we're still asking for some patience, but do get and file your 21 return despite that, and choose to do that electronically. We're still working through getting all that done as quickly, as efficiently as we can.
Does it make sense to e-file earlier or later when it comes to the IRS processing refunds?
Well, generally speaking, the IRS would like people, taxpayers, you, me, everybody else, to file when you're ready. When you have all your paperwork and you're confident that all that information on your return is going to be accurate and honest the first time. Now, that said, if you want to file early, by all means, that way you get your hands on your refund quicker. There's some logic in that, absolutely. But the bottom line is, file when you're ready and you have all your paperwork gathered and sorted and ready to get that return done. One quick thing about refunds I will mention is millions and millions of people take the earned income tax credit. And that's a really important tax credit that's given to lower individuals and lower income individuals and families across the country. And it's really a significant thing for a lot of people. But if you file early and claim that, by law, the IRS has to hold that refund until mid-February. And then so that means you may not be getting that refund anyway until maybe the later parts of February, because we have to hold it and make sure that that is being legitimate EITC returns and that kind of thing. And that's by law from a few years ago. So the bottom line is refund timing, generally 3 weeks or less, but for some, you may have to wait, especially if you're claiming the earned income tax credit, because we do have to hold it.
I wanted to ask you about the services, and you referenced this. A lot of people do use various software that they can purchase, but it's my understanding that the IRS also offers a free online service for certain individuals in order to file tax returns. I don't know whether it's as good as some of those products you can buy. What can you tell us about that?
Right. So there's two avenues to free in every filing season. The first one is Free File, and the Free File program you mentioned is a partnership with the IRS and several software companies to offer free electronic filing, generally speaking, for those making $73,000 or less. So you go to irs.gov, use it as a portal, log into the Free File program, take a look at the software partners that are there, and go ahead and log into that software you're going to use to file a return, provided that stipulation is there for you that you file with an income of $73,000 or less, to use that program in terms of the guarantee for that, for being free for a federal return. The other way to get free is voluntary income tax assistance, or VITA programs, and they're located in hundreds and hundreds of places around the country, if not thousands. And that's volunteer community work by those who prepare returns, simpler returns for those who need that in the community. And it's VITA. So irs.gov/VITA. But the bottom line is those two avenues of free are really important and a very good resource for a lot of people.
Thank you for that. Let me ask you now about the child tax credit, because I think there is some confusion about all of that. This is a program that was really rather unusual, to get an advance of a tax credit before you actually file your tax return. So I take it this is something the IRS has never really had to work through before, right?
Yeah, not the normal thing to have a tax credit be given in advance in monthly payments. But that's what Congress and legislation had us doing from July to December. And if a couple of things about it: one, you had to opt out of getting those payments. In other words, you were opted in automatically. So millions of people got those periodic payments, if you will. And some had changes throughout the whole year. You may have had a childbirth, or any sorts of things that life brings changes for people in 2021. So that credit, up to half of the enhanced version, was distributed last year. The other half going on a tax return that you're going to file now. So one of the things that's really, really important is, if you did receive any piece of the advanced child tax credit in 2021, you're going to get a letter 6419, and that is a really important letter to keep, because that'll have information on what you got and then what you can receive based on what you put on your return. Because when you reconcile those two, you want to make sure it's the right number. That way you slow down, avoid any processing slowdowns by having it be incorrect. So letter 6419, if it's coming to you and you get it, keep it. It's important. It goes with your tax records, so when you file your return.
You still have to file, if I understand correctly, the Schedule 8812 in order to get the child tax credit. That's what I've read, the letter that you've referred to. And I take it that you file a Schedule 8812 with your 2021 income tax return in order to claim the remaining credit. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, the software is going to do that for you anyway. So if you think of navigating software, it's asking you questions, it's holding your hand, it's asking you what you got and what you qualify for, what you're eligible for. It's probably offering the rules to make sure you know what it is you're putting on there. And with your paperwork in front of you, it makes that process really easy in terms of navigating that. But it's only as good as the information you put in it. So you do want to be correct the first time.
what do you think are some of the glitches? You mentioned that, well, first of all, not everyone wanted or got the automatic payment, so they'd be entitled to the full tax credit of $3,600 if the child is under 6, $3,000 per child if they're 6 to 17. So I take it, I mean, you really have to know your own situation. And then, as you pointed out, you could have had a child. If you had a child anytime in 2021, do you get the full tax credit?
And it goes on your tax return when you file this year. If you didn't opt into the portal, which we had there, the child tax credit update portal, to let us know, the IRS know that you had a child and you wanted to receive these payments beginning in July through December of last year. But otherwise, yeah, all that reconciliation goes on a tax return when you file here in 2022 for 21. And recall, the rescue plan only has this in play for 2021 only. So for 2022 now, we revert back to what the law was before. But the bottom line is when you file this return now, yes, you are taking into account this new law and how it affects you and what you qualify for. If it's partial or the full amount on your return, that letter 6419 and your eligibility in general will help you determine what the correct number is.
Have those letters gone out?
Yeah, it started in December and continuing as we speak. So hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have them all out. But certainly, just like everything else, a lot of paperwork coming out in January.
You also mentioned, and I wanted to ask you briefly about the stimulus check that a lot of folks got in 2021. Am I remembering correctly? Was it $1,200? I can't quite remember the exact dollar amount.
The third one administered or issued last year from the rescue plan in March, I believe, was $1,200 or $1,400 off the top. That's amazing how some of those numbers escape me sometimes, but it was a little bit different than the first two that were issued in 2020, but still same thing, same logic there. If you were eligible for a partial amount or the full amount and you didn't receive it, you're going to get a letter for that too. And I believe I might misnumber this, but I think it's 6745 or 6475. That letter is the same kind of letter as the letter for the advanced child tax credit that tells you what you received and therefore what you're eligible for. It may not be anything if you already got it, but bottom line is that letter is important too if you are to receive a partial or full amount of the third economic impact payment, should you not have gotten the full amount when you last year when it was distributed.
Is that stimulus check taxable?
No.
Income?
No. It's an advanced tax credit, so no, it's not taxable.
The stimulus check.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, good. Anything else finally, Raphael, that we should keep in mind as taxpayers as we head into this season of doing our tax returns and trying to make sure we get, go ahead.
Some general things come to mind. Choosing a tax professional, you want to choose wisely there, obviously, because you want to make sure you're getting an honest and accurate return. You sign it, you're responsible for what's on it. So definitely want to choose wisely, as many people do, but there's a few bad apples in the bunch. So do look out when you're choosing a preparer that you're choosing wisely and that information on your return is correct. Watch out for scams and things like that tend to proliferate around tax filing season. We don't email you or text you or call you out of the blue demanding certain things or asking for payments or those kinds of things. Those scams continue and the variations are there. And then finally, if you can and you need tax help, really go to irs.gov first. See if you can get help on the website. There's so many different tools, task-based resources there. At least if you go there, you give yourself your best shot to get your help 24/7 as opposed to calling. But if you need to call or visit an office, if you need to do that, by all means, but check the website first. Maybe it saves you time and frustration.
When you call the IRS, I see an 800 number here, 800-908-4184. Not sure if that's just for the child tax credit or general.
Yeah, it might be one of the specialized numbers.
Yeah. Do you actually get a human being when you call these 800 numbers?
We're trying. The resources are a little bit thinned as the years have gone by and through the pandemic. We have a lot of volume of calls. At some point you can get through if you have patience, and we're still asking for that. That's why I say, please try the website first. And if you absolutely have to call, by all means do that. But you may find that you save yourself a whole lot of time and frustration accessing whatever it might be on irs.gov, questions, answers, all kinds of things there. It's the federal resource first, if you will.
Well, Raphael Tulino, who is really a wealth of information as a spokesperson for the Internal Revenue Service, thank you, sir, very much for spending time with us. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for the kind words. Anytime.
This has been a CBSN Pittsburgh special presentation. We now return to our scheduled programming in progress.